Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Big Wil Spotlight. We're going to discuss movies the Oscars don't care about. We're going to discuss movies that you care about. So go ahead, get yourself something to eat. Get yourself something to drink. Sit back and relax with your popcorn and your date as we go to Big Wil Spotlight with your hosts, Big Wil, Dr. Quack, and the important one, Mr. Mayhem. All right, sorry about that, folks. For some reason, it wanted to start the intro twice, so do the intro properly.
It just does what it wants to do around here. Welcome back to another edition of Big Wil Spotlight. Yes, the big man is back, and he's going to talk to you about The Rock.
That's right. Not the important one, Mr. Mayhem. We're discussing the biggest face in wrestling in the last 20 years as far as movies are concerned, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Yes, I am glad that he did go get that acting school done. You know, it definitely helped out his wrestling career. Yeah,
it did. And we've got someone here that wants to discuss some Rock movies with us. We like to bring him in. He's bringing to us a European feel for this. Please welcome in NDT Neil Thomas.
Hello, sir.
So how's it doing? How you doing over there? How's it going? How's the temperature over
there? 88.
That's not too bad.
That's not bad. Just here in Texas.
20 past 8 in the evening.
Okay, yeah, he's 8 in the evening. It's a little warm.
Oh yeah.
It's been like that here, about that, but in Texas, it's been in the 90s and hundreds. So
yeah,
100 for the last week or so.
All righty. So since you're the guest, let's let you start off with what's your favorite movie that has The Rock in it?
there's a few actually.
Okay.
Central Intelligence for one.
Very good movie.
But he comes good. And just for comical purposes, I would have to say Rampage.
Good list. Good list. Definitely some of the ones that we were planning on talking about anyway.
We had someone else come on here and said The Game Plan.
The Game Plan. Yes, one of The Rock's earlier works.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. That one, and along the lines with the Tooth Fairy. Yes, he was sports commentator. He was the sporty guy.
Yeah.
And Jingle All the Way.
He was the quarterback in the one and a professional hockey player in the other one. So, I mean, yeah, definitely bringing the sports out. Since you already brought up Rampage, we'll go there. Dwayne's interaction with George the Gorilla, it was like some of the best stuff that there was. I mean, I'm not saying, trying to take away from, this is his best acting or this is his worst acting. It was just the interaction that they gave to him and the gorilla. Just it was above what I was figuring it would be going into it.
All right. Well, it showed the Rock does have
Same here.
In the acting world, because obviously that's not a real gorilla. They had to have him pretending to act either in front of a person with a green suit on or acting in front of a stick. So he did grow his acting ability there by being able to show he can work with somebody who's not there. And that's I wasn't a big fan of this movie, mostly because I played the video game, the arcade version, for so long that I was expecting more of the destruction of the cities and the world and less on how they all got together. So I wasn't a big fan of it, but it wasn't horrible.
Whereas with the video game, they were more friends than
Right.
rivals. And
Right.
Yeah,
well,
so-
well, like the gorilla whether the gorilla, the lizard, or the wolf, when they got knocked out, they became the other person. It was like a transformation.
Yeah.
Instead of they
Yeah.
were a partnership. So that was a little different as well. But like I said, it wasn't horrible. It wasn't one of my favorites.
And like I was pointing out earlier, like that's where they introduced the new version of Ford Bronco, made everybody want to have one. And then they came out with
Yeah.
And then they realized that was a mistake. All right, we got someone else here who's a perennial all-star here. He always comes on, talk about good movies. Let's welcome the show, John Strack. All right, so as you were listening backstage, right as you were finishing up on your catering, we were talking about Rampage. What's your thoughts on that movie?
I'll be honest, I'm probably one of the few people that has never seen Rampage.
What?
Oh, there's a lot of Rock movies that I haven't seen. I ain't gonna lie. I've never
So-
personally watched the Hercules movie with him in it.
I haven't seen that. I haven't seen Journey
That
to
ain't too bad.
the Universe. I haven't seen Jungle Cruise.
All good movies.
Mummy Returns?
Which one did you say, Neil?
Mummy Returns?
Why are you
All
talking about
there
my
we
mummy?
go.
Well, he was in that one more just for a face because I don't even think he actually had a line.
Nope.
Yes, he
Oh,
did.
It was all to set up the Scorpion King.
But
That's all
just
it really was for.
yeah, we could just go into the Scorpion King on that one anyway. I mean, it was a build-in for it.
I'm gonna be
I
honest.
think
One of
go ahead.
I heard you guys talking about favorite Rock movies.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're talking about
What-
most of them. I don't
What-
plan on covering every single Fast and Furious movie.
Yeah, and Dr.
I'm not even gonna say
Oh,
that.
no.
and
I'm not
his
even-
least favorite Doom.
I'm not even gonna sit here and say it's one of the best movies he's ever done, but I really enjoy watching the game plan.
The game plan was
Gameplay was
good.
good.
Yes.
Hmm.
It started off with that one, like I said, and the Tooth Fairy, showed his comic, persona, and
Yep.
he took it and ran with it, and that's why he's made it so great for Central Intelligence. I can't give all the credit to Kevin Hart for that. I mean, The Rock was, a big part of it.
The Rock
when-
carries Kevin
Yeah,
Hart.
he wasn't there just for muscle.
Yeah. Well, and I agree with
Yeah.
the game, but The Rock in his wrestling career was always known for his aggressive one-liners. He never really had a self-deprecating side, and in this movie, he really showed he can make a fool of himself and not look bad doing it.
Yeah.
And so, as everybody knows the line, I'm a lemon. That's one of the,
Yeah.
the line everybody remembers. That kind of everybody went, you know what? The Rock can be funny. He can make fun of himself.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah.
Central Intelligence was probably like I keep hearing rumors that they're gonna end up making a second one, and then you have Super Pets coming up this upcoming week, where
Mhm.
you have Kevin Hart and The Rock
He's got
again.
Black Adam coming out.
I was never a huge fan of Black Adam, but because everything he's touched right now has turned to gold,
Yeah, true.
it's going to be
And then you
interesting
got
to see
with,
it.
like the Journey movies. I mean, he did a good job in those. The second one, he showed the comic part of him being such a large man.
How can you forget Jumanji?
Now
I wasn't a fan of the Journey movies.
was taking it to Jumanji. The second one, the only thing I did not like about the movie is pretty much the lines were great. It was just him trying to do the Danny DeVito Brooklyn accent kind of thing. Just kind of threw me off.
True.
Of course,
And I-
speaking extremely slow, trying to play Danny Glover.
I also saw that someone said that Doom was probably his worst movie. I beg to differ on that one. I actually enjoyed Doom.
I enjoyed Doom. I think that's the one where you end up figuring out Paul Urban's name.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was like one of his first movies. So it weren't too bad.
I don't think
For,
Dune was a bad movie, but I don't think The Rock was the reason it was a bad movie. I think it was poorly written and poorly executed. But The Rock was one of the more entertaining people on the movie, even though he ended up being the villain.
And I did just find out there's a sequel to that movie too. I have not seen that one yet, but I don't think The Rock's in it, so it doesn't matter. But they are coming out with the Journey 3, apparently.
oh God!
I guess at some point I'm gonna have to pay attention to the first two to figure out that last one.
It's good premise.
They're going to do the same thing as they done with the Fast and Furious. They're going to just flog it to death.
So now, since we're The Rock or Dwayne The Rock Johnson is a megastar when it comes to wrestling, but also a megastar when it comes to movies.
Yeah.
Which one does he play? Like, which one is he more like? If you go around and ask people nowadays, what do you think people will tie him to? Do you think they tie him to wrestling, or do you think they tie him to all these movies that he's
wrestling.
been in?
Definitely
I
wrestling.
don't know. With today's world, he's kind of been out of it for a little while.
Yeah, it kind of depends on who you ask, because I was going to ask this question to Neil, so it would kind of caveat that here in the United States, you know, The Rock was a big deal in wrestling. He kind of became mainstream after Hulk Hogan. And then when he went to acting, now he's pushed at acting. A lot of people forget he's a wrestler. How is The Rock perceived in Europe versus here in the United States? Is he as big a phenomenon in Europe as he is in the United States?
Oh, when it comes to homegrown talent, The Rock is well known, but he's not the phenomenon that he is in America.
Okay.
He's come from the WWE, where most of us actually know him from.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to wrestling and films, I think he's known here for both equally.
Okay.
To be honest, because there's certain films that you just associate with him.
Okay. And I would say here it kind of matters how old the person is, because as Big Will said, he's been out of wrestling a little while. If you're not an old wrestling fan or you didn't watch wrestling, most people are like, "Oh yeah, Dwayne wrestled too."
Yeah, like my son, like my stepson, he's 19.
Mm-hmm.
And he can still remember The Rock as The Rock.
Okay.
But he also knows him as an actor.
Okay.
So you would have to ask quite a young person for them to predominantly know him from the movies. But the ones that
this way, if anyone was a fan, like growing, like anyone who's now 30 and older and they're a huge fan of the Attitude Era, if they're trying to get their children into wrestling, they'd be showing them the Attitude Era, which you obviously know The Rock's in the Attitude Era, so done.
True.
Oh yeah. Same as quite a few of the wrestlers that have not been on TV for a good 10 years, like Batista.
Yeah.
He is still known to the older teenagers for his time in WWE.
Mm-hmm. True.
Very.
But The Rock, he is pretty well known predominantly for his wrestling, and it's starting to come on par with his acting career now, with the films that he's been in. The one that really got him up there, I would have to say, was Mummy Returns, Scorpion King, maybe Red Notice, his newer one.
You're kind of pushing it on Mummy Returns because literally he's in there for maybe 15, 20 minutes and he's out. He's done.
No, he was in there for a good part of that film, actually, because he was the main hired gun, you may as well say.
He was in there in the beginning
the
of
film.
the flashback scenes.
Okay. Maybe it was a little more than I gave it credit for. I just remember the very end of it, like I said.
Yeah, most
Scorpion,
people only remember that
face,
part.
and that was about it. But I mean,
No, he was actually in there for a good third to maybe half of the film, because he was the one that actually took the head of the king, who became the Scorpion King in the follow-up.
All right. So then, hey, there's a lot of movies that he's been in the last couple of years that most people don't even know he was in. He was in Free Guy. Most people don't know he was in Free Guy.
Because he's only in there for what, maybe 5, 10
He's
minutes?
in there for one scene. He was one of the bank robbers. He played a Transformer.
I didn't know about the Transformer one.
He was Cliff Jumper.
Yeah, I didn't even.
Well, in the movie we reviewed with the two cops, where he's one of the super cops that jumps off a building to his death.
Yes. Now you're making me forget the name of it.
Mark
Oh,
Wahlberg.
the other guys. There we
The
go.
other guy.
Yeah.
That was like,
it was better than them giving credit to like big karate guy back in the day. Like was in the first 5 minutes, his special forces team, Air Force One, I believe. They like attached to the airplane to get the team off, and
Broken Arrow.
No, Broken Arrow is the John Travolta movie. I don't remember. It was just like he's already out of the movie.
well, because you already like the movie, like the beginning of that, like for the other guys, that movie was already star-studded because you had Samuel L. Jackson, who was his partner. You had him. You had Will Ferrell. You had
Mark Wahlberg.
So that's just a lot of people already as it is. And if you're really trying to push the other Wahlberg and Ferrell, you're gonna have to get rid of the other two of them.
The one that actually did the best job, Steve Coogan, in that movie.
Steve Coogan was in that, and Michael Keaton.
Mm-hmm. So you're right; it was a star-studded thing. So I want to ask kind of this question here. We'll go around the room here. Do you think Rock is a better comedy actor or action actor?
Oh.
I mean, I can kind of start this one. I think he does great in both. I mean, in fact, before the show was starting, Mayhem was sitting there talking to me about him being able to actually play serious roles. So I came back with Walking Tall. He did. He was. It was action, but for the most part, it was him playing a great part for that show. Yes, it's a remake. Yes. And then there's the movie Skyscraper. I mean, he actually wasn't showing off his muscles and trying to be all, I'm the hottest guy in the world. He was playing a serious part, trying to get to his family. And for the most part, he had a 3-piece suit the whole time. And his leg.
All right. And my thing is, think while he's a very talented actor, I think he lacks a little bit in drama. Yes, Walking Tall, he did a great job in that, but he had source material to work from,
Okay.
the original film. I was kind of saying because of how Tom Hanks started out as a comedian, stand-up comedian, went to comedy and television, and now is the worldwide phenomenon. Could you imagine The Rock playing in Philadelphia? I couldn't.
I'll say this. I like with Dwayne, I think it's all based off of who he's with in either a TV show or a movie. It all depends on
Yeah.
who he's with and who's around him. Because if like you have Kevin, like when it comes to comedy, he is like when you put him and Kevin Hart together, it's like gold. Especially if like you watch their Instagrams, TikToks, whatever you do to watch watch their YouTubes. Whenever they're around each other, it's like they're in the movie, like filming a movie at that time, and it's like it's perfect. He's obviously with the wrestling background. He has the understanding of the action side of things, so he's really good at that. And I'll be honest, I kind of looked at Walking Tall more of a action movie. So
And it took a minute to get to the actual him being the action part of it. I mean, that was basically the last half hour of it, but getting up to it,
because he
fight
was
off
saying,
a
I
couple of
don't do these
people, and
things.
they beat his ass, cut him, and braided him.
And
Yeah.
to counteract my own argument, the rundown, he actually did a little bit, but how much of that was Christopher Walken trying to, this is a serious role. He tried to match up be along the lines of Christopher Walken, but he did some funny stuff, but it wasn't meant to be funny. When he's beating up Sean William Scott, I don't think those lines were meant to be funny, but they came off as funny.
They did. Off funny. I mean, with Sean William Scott, I mean, hey, Stifler, he plays the dry humor kind of thing. I don't want to call it dry humor. He has some off the wall stuff to say. Is pretty much what it boils down to.
Yeah.
But like I said, it all goes to whoever he's with when it comes to the movie. Because if he has somebody that he has great chemistry with, it just makes it makes it all that much different.
Because I can kind of go on with that with the fact that he is a good enough actor that he doesn't even have to actually be himself. I can't. In person, he's been in several cartoons. I mean, Moana. Sorry, for the adults. Yes, your kids might want to go back and watch that movie now.
You're welcome.
But I mean,
I see what you did there.
He seriously carried that movie. I want to say he is what made that movie. I don't think that movie would have been what it was. I mean, they may have used somebody else to do the part or something like that, but that character is what carried the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
And Neil, you've been trying to say something. What did you have to say? You were about to jump in on something as well.
Well, when it comes to comedy, I agree with John here. It all depends what he's partnered with. But the thing that gets me, he's either been in comedy or action.
Right. Yeah. He hasn't really done anything serious.
He hasn't really done any what you can call serious roles.
Because then you can even bring up Fighting with My Family. Yes, I know you haven't watched it.
I have.
He was. I was talking about Mayhem. He hadn't seen that one yet. And it's a
same.
I haven't watched Hell Come to Frogtown either.
Well, saying that, what I'm thinking, like, what, like, serious role or say, period role, would you actually see The Rock playing?
I actually think I could see him play one. Could you imagine him as John Coffey in The Green Mile?
Or
I know Michael Clark Duncan killed that role in a way that was awesome.
yeah,
I would never want to see that redone though.
I agree with you.
no, would I?
I agree
But
with that, but could you just take out that part, leave everybody else in, and spin The Rock in there in place? Do you think it would work?
Not as well, but yeah, I can see it.
I don't know if you
Like
could really replace Tom Hanks for that movie. I mean, that's where you're going to get boiled down to. I can't really think of the other guy's name.
David
The second guard,
David Morse? Brutal?
maybe. Yeah, Brutal.
David Morse.
I mean, the squirrely guy, you know, yeah, there's several people that can take that part.
So here's the other thing that we can look at is if anybody hasn't seen the trailer to Black Adam, yes, superhero movies normally go towards the action side of things, but could we see Black Adam be more of a serious role than it is an action role?
Now, for the first movie, hopefully they will more or less get this right and do a backstory. Get the character built.
Nah,
Get
they
him
won't.
towards the end, have him fight a lesser bad guy just so that he can figure his powers out. You know, I guess not figure his powers out, but show how he can use them against the bad people.
It's DC. You have a lot of hope for DC on that one.
Well,
Yeah.
if they're going to come out with several of them, you know, then that's the way I would like to see it done. But that's
I think the closest to a backstory would have to, like, when it comes to it, and I know we're getting off subject on this, the closest to a backstory in DC for movie wise has been Wonder Woman, and that was only in the first movie, and then after that it just went like all of a sudden now we're talking about 1984 and stuff like that. So
I feel like
that was the closest you got to a backstory into a movie. I have a fear you're going to see it where he has his powers right off the bat. He knows how to use them. And then all of a sudden they'll throw flashbacks instead of doing it from how it should be done from the beginning.
Well,
that's my fear.
You kind of got to start it off with something to get your interest in the first place. So, yeah, an action scene from what is going to happen towards the end. But I just want to say, you know, do more backstory on them, not get like, you know, 5, you know, X-Men movies in and then finally do the background on Wolverine kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
And then they did it wrong.
But what I was trying to get at was, like, if you look at, say, Anthony Hopkins, he's played many a different roles.
Yes, he has.
And most of them have been serious. Some of them have been action. Some of them have even been comedies. So, like, with that, could you see someone like Dwayne Johnson playing, say, a serial killer?
I couldn't.
Like Hannibal.
I could, because Anthony Hopkins, even though he did as Hannibal Lecter, he still added some of the comedy, like what he did in older movies, like in Hook. He was Smee.
Yeah.
Hook, so he has that comedy side to him, and he brought it in just a maniacal enough way. I could see him doing.
Wasn't he also in Speed? I'm trying to remember. Was he in Speed as well?
No, that was Dennis Hopper.
That was Dennis Hopper, yeah. But he was in Wolves. Was it actually Dracula? He was.
Honestly, if anything, I would like if he was to play a serious role, I could see him like as a mobster and him trying to play a Don or like the head of a.
Now that Michael Clark Duncan is gone, I could see him taking over Kingpin role. But I think the whole problem with The Rock is just going to basically boil down to his size. They can't like have it where he just blends into an everyday person.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, no, he's not as big as wrestling ever makes him seem. And sorry, spoiler for most of y'all. Hey, wrestlers aren't as big as they're made out to be.
Yeah, well, The Rock actually is 5.
Well, I'm just pointing out, like.
Well, now since we're trying to compare him to other actors and for serious roles, okay, now let's flip that coin a little bit. Let's look at other wrestlers who went from wrestling to movies, whether they're currently doing it or they tried it in the past. Like
Stone Cold.
Future shows.
It's all good. We can still talk about it because there are some who did well, some who did not so well. Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, Hogan didn't do well. To me, as much as everyone says he's doing well, I don't think Cena is as good as everyone thinks he is. Yes,
No.
Peacemaker.
Yeah.
Peacemaker probably has his biggest breakthrough in my other than that, I like the Marine. Peacemaker is the biggest breakthrough that he's done.
I put John Cena along the same lines I do as Shaquille O'Neal. If you have ever seen Kazam, he's god-awful actor. But all of a sudden, he's one of the greatest pitchmen ever. And John Cena is just as good.
Yeah.
He's right now everywhere in the world when it comes to advertisement and voiceovers. But you watch him act and you're like,
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, he's in the firefighter movie. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head right now. We're not studying him, but I found that movie to be good. I mean, I wouldn't say that he was the best part of the movie. He led the movie to get to where it needed to be, but I mean, it is what it is. I mean,
it's like Stone Cold.
Stone Cold was
He's been in quite a few films.
Yeah, he's been in quite a few films. He's had his hits and misses. I mean,
same as Triple H.
Sometimes you can just blame it on the manager too. I mean,
or as Green Lantern, you can blame it on the director.
That one you can blame on. Well, you can't specifically blame it on the director, but the feud between Ryan Reynolds and the director is what made that movie bad. Because he's done other things.
Yes. Alrighty. So,
but most wrestlers have been stereotyped when it comes to films.
I also and that's good, and that's what The Rock other than the comedy stuff when he does things with Kevin Hart, he's going to be stereotyped into the action role where he could be the big guy. You could see him
big buff guy,
You could see him play being a character in The Predator, going up against the Predator. You could see him. They're going to want him to use size because he's a big guy compared to, say, a Ryan Reynolds. So,
but I can see them coming back out and remaking Predator, and still it would end up being somebody like The Rock and Ryan Reynolds, and I can't think of his name right now. A guy from Wind.
I don't remember what the title is, but they actually do have a new Predator coming out, and it actually goes back to when I think caveman days.
Yeah,
and I've been told
reviews,
and the reviews have been great on it. It'd be the best Predator movie since the first one. So I have high hopes for it.
I don't give a whole lot of faith to a lot of the reviewers today. Some movies that everybody said, man, greatest movie ever. I've watched this thing. It's well, I guess I've never seen a movie before because that was awful.
It's also based off of it's also based off of your taste. Just because you read somebody saying it, they may not have the same taste of movies you do. So you if you find somebody you trust when it comes to reading articles and stuff, that you feel like they have the same taste, and you go see the movie, and then yes, you agree, then you tend to trust them a little bit more. Everyone has a different taste in movies. Like, I could sit here and say Doom is one of Rock's better movies, but yet you had Quack, who commented earlier, saying, nope, it was not. It was probably the worst movie. It's all based off
got a few stinkers out there. It took me a little bit to get down to where he even was named for Skyscraper, and I was like, why is all this stuff in front of it? That was horrible. But I mean, people are going to take it how they want. I mean, hell, you can go back into the with Star Trek. It was doing so bad on TV that they actually canceled it. They did what, 4 seasons?
Three seasons, 88 episodes.
So, and now it's a cult following. People know every single show, word for word. And it's like,
and it was like, and it happened vice versa with the Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now you have
It was an instant hit, and now everyone's like, over it.
All right, so let's go with this. We all know from Moana, again, you're welcome, that he can sing. Would you ever imagine The Rock being either on Broadway or an off-Broadway production?
I could see him on Broadway.
Off.
I don't think he's.
I would agree with an off. I don't see him on Broadway, but an off-Broadway production. Which, by the way, for those of you, on Broadway or off Broadway has nothing to do with it actually appears on Broadway in New York City. It's the size of the venue and how long they perform. That's the difference between on Broadway and off Broadway.
Because they still bring Broadway shows here to Houston. What?
Well, the problem is this. He will go anywhere that makes money. Let's look at it this way. The only reason why right now, if anyone has been sleeping under a rock and they're a wrestling fan, well, there's a reason why he's not doing anything around WrestleMania, because number one, it's in Hollywood. It's going to make a lot of money, and he's going to make a lot of money on his own going. So if you said, hey, I need you, we'll put you on Broadway. You're going to make X amount of dollars. Yeah, it's going to be this period of time. You will Hugh Jackman, you don't think he's a Broadway guy, but yet he's on Broadway.
I believe he was there before he even got the part for X-Men. So,
And,
but I don't think The Rock can sit still in one place for that long.
I think he can, because the thing is Broadway, you can either be in a musical or just a straight play. And like I said, if you tell him, hey, you're going to make this amount, he will come up like every single time he's gone out there. Some people say he can't do it, and what has he done?
Well, we know he can do it. He showed it off in the game plan when he was dancing, and he was a treat.
So everyone's like, you can't go from wrestling to acting, and look what he's done. He's now become one of the biggest box office stars in what, the last 10 years, 15 years. He's one of the top ones. So
Batista's starting to make his way into that route too. You can't take away. You probably haven't seen half the movies you think he's been in either.
Not being funny. The only time I could actually see him on stage would be if they'd done a stage version of Mona.
Yeah.
Playing the actual character.
they actually do have a stage version.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't see him being able to sit down. I'm going to do the same thing every day for 6 months.
Well, if you think about it, early in wrestling, it was that way. It was.
Yeah, when he started out, that's
Well,
how it
that's
was.
All it was. So he can do it. Is it going to be? Is it going to be easy? No, but
it wasn't the same city and it wasn't the same person every single time.
Well, yeah.
But then how long does the films take to actually produce? 18 months? 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
all on the nearly one set. for like 6 months, 8 months at a time. So yeah, I can see him settling down in a role, but
Yeah, well, especially now that he's married again, he might want to slow down a little, spend some time with his new wife.
at the end of the day, though, it comes down to that: is it going to pay him? Is he
Yeah.
going to profit from it?
Exactly.
I
All
I don't
right.
see him slowing down. Like it's like the whole thing of is like when his whole lifestyle is already the way it is. It's very difficult for it to happen. I like
Hmm.
yeah, could it happen? I don't see it happening anytime soon because he's again what now like now you have movie producers knocking on your door day in and day out to get you to be in their movie. He's starting up XFL with his ex-wife, and so that's now going. He has his own drink lines, whether it's energy drinks, workout drinks to tequila. He's got all that.
Yep.
He's going. He's still doing Make a Wish things. He still will probably show up in wrestling, doing wrestling things, interviews. It's never going to end. He's always going to be the way he is. Heck, he has a traveling gym for goodness sakes.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
never seen anybody that has a gym that when it's time for him to go work out, he'll stop filming, go work out because they set up the gym. He gets done. They tear down the gym while he goes back to film. How many other actors do you know that has that for them?
Sylvester Stallone.
I'm sure there's a few here and there, but I know what you're saying. I get your point.
Yeah. But I mean, now we're going to get off of Broadway, go back into the movies. What about G.I. Joe?
Wasn't he in G.I. Joe?
He was
Yeah, he
in
was
G.I.
Roadblock.
Roadblock.
He was poorly
Well,
miscast
the
Roadblock.
third one, wasn't he, or was it the second?
Second one.
He was,
First one, it was
The
actually
Rise of Cobra.
I know it wasn't the first one. Or was there only two of them?
well, there's three at least. They only have done the Snake Eyes for backstory so far.
Aren't they doing Cobra next?
They may.
all I know is that movie kind of had some bad parts in it. Like the part that Marlon Wayans played was poorly booked.
That was the first one.
The Rock was improperly booked. They did a good job with putting Dennis Quaid in there as General Hawk. He was well cast, but it really felt like somebody who was the casting director had never seen the TV show.
Just take a picture of somebody, story around them.
So I had trouble sitting through them.
Because then in Jungle Cruise, he pretty much showed that he could still, was comic and action.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, in Jumanji, where he had to pretend he had to be a different person.
I thought that
I did like that.
I didn't like that.
Kind of waiting for the next one to come out. That would be awesome. I can just see The Rock coming into real life instead of being in the game, since the game is coming out into the world.
That would be interesting.
It's at the end of the second one. Spoiler for you if you haven't seen it, and shame on you if you haven't.
but like I haven't.
Alrighty.
Yeah,
So
I didn't like it.
So I guess we'll do this last question here. We'll start with Big Will.
All right.
If you were the director of a movie and you had The Rock and somebody else and you were directing the movie, who would the other person be? And
The other person,
and you even tell us
what?
what the type of movie will be.
I would actually like to see Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to get a second Jungle Cruise, but I would love to see The Rock and Emily Blunt together in a more modern setting, whether it be a superhero or action. Because Emily Blunt can do some action stuff too.
Okay.
Don't get me thinking about that
Mm.
movie. Her and Tom Cruise keep having the same day over and over again. She was a pretty badass in that one.
Well,
Not the Forever Ward.
All right. Mine's a little more odd. I would do a remake of The Last Boy Scout, but instead of Damon Wayans and
Mm.
Bruce Willis, I would do Hugh Jackman and The Rock and redo The Last Boy Scout.
what was the movie with DeVito and Schwarzenegger?
Twins or
Twins.
or he's pregnant.
Okay, this is what
Yeah,
I'm
the
thinking.
pregnant movie. I don't remember what it was.
Twins is what I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
Okay.
twins.
So who would you put along?
Me.
Kevin Hart?
Well, he already did like DeVito, so you go somebody short, it'd be another Rock and Kevin Hart movie.
Yeah, to me it'd be Rock and Kevin Hart because the chemistry that they have together, whether like you see it in Central Intelligence when it's like it's a comedy / action, and that movie I saw it like a week before it came out, and I was just like blown away from it, and I was like, you know what, fine. I went to see it I think 3 more times in theater because I enjoyed it. Between both of them to just everything over and over again that would happen. So I could see like a twins aspect of it where you had Kevin Hart and Dwayne just being the twins.
Before we get to Neil, though, I want to point out in Central Intelligence, a lot of people, I don't know if they haven't seen it or not, but I love the beginning. I'm sorry, The Rock being a fat kid, and that's why he started working out and everything like that. But
Yep.
being that fat kid in the shower and they throw him in the gym locker room naked, that it was just hilarious. It was funny. He had a good time with it. I mean, they superimposed his face on that kid so well, you wouldn't have known it wasn't him.
All right, Neil, go ahead.
Mine would. I think I would throw a complete curveball on him. I think as a co-star, I would have someone like either Mila, who played Alice, or Jessica Alba in a
Be somebody to bring back in.
maybe maybe a romance.
Oh, that'd be interesting. He could definitely pull off a rom-com.
It would have to be a rom-com. I don't, you know what I mean?
A
If
pure
he
romance, I
did
could've seen.
strictly romance, it might actually show off his acting skills, though.
There you go.
Yeah, because most of these stuff has been like I said earlier, been either comedy or action.
True.
You saw in Australia the softer side of Hugh Jackman, so it'll give him a chance to actually show that softer side of him,
Yeah.
Still one of my favorite
and
movies.
it would push his acting abilities a lot further than, say, Fast and Furious did.
That's true. That's true.
It is.
That's a good call. All
Now I
right.
do have one question,
Go ahead.
and that is, we all know he's going to be in the DC side. If he was actually not in DC and he was a part of Marvel, which character would he be, whether it being a bad guy or a good guy? Like, I could honestly, like, I do agree that if it wasn't Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin, to me it had to have been Dwayne.
Pointed out Kingpin, but his name's gonna escape me now. The metal guy,
Cyborg.
Colossus?
Cyborg.
Colossus.
No,
Yes,
Cyborg's DC.
he's been hit on in the original X-Men. He was one of the older kids that was helping get the kids out of the house.
This is Russian.
And then they hit on him in Deadpool.
Yeah.
I don't have any control
Colossus.
for who they had in X-Men. It was just the big white kid looked like a jock, and he was helping get the kids out the house.
Yeah.
But either way, if you go with what the comics seem to be, I think that would be the perfect part for him. He was a big black Russian.
Black Russians.
I would actually, I would actually throw a spanner in that and place him more on a Blade-esque.
No, I like who they got for Blade.
Not so much Blade, but maybe the part that Triple H played as one of the Nemesis.
Yeah. But the problem with that is it would only be like one movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd want to like. I know his, and I'm not trying to make this sound wrong in any way, but I know the skin tone isn't as more towards Wakandan. But could you like maybe Black Panther? Now that
Black Panther, yep, that would be another good setting for him.
The only thing that scares me with that is Black Panther is more of a martial artist, and Dwayne is not. Yeah. I don't know if Dwayne can actually touch like his shoulder.
Kind of why I'm saying for this, I would say that he's too big to play that part.
Yeah.
That's why I said Kingpin would like. I love the fact that they have Vincent D'Onofrio, but to me, Dwayne would probably be a better Kingpin, and I think would actually help his acting a little bit more to play that guy.
Or Rhino.
No.
He's got the size for it.
I still like what they were doing. Paul Giamatti.
From the Insidious 6.
It's gonna be interesting, like, because how many characters have jumped from DC to how many people have jumped, actors or actresses jumped from DC to Marvel, and vice versa.
I'm sure there's several.
But then if you look at the comics, there has been crossovers quite a few times in the comics.
Never do
on the other side. That's where that one's going to boil down to.
So
they would never do a crossover.
Aging enough that they need to. They're just going to have to update them, make somebody new. I mean, it's just you're going to end up having to replace people if you keep on with a movie set. I mean, I don't really see the Avengers being completely done. They still have more storyline and everything like that, but I mean. They've done a good job. They've killed off Captain America. They've killed off Tony Stark. So,
if I remember rightly, there's for the Avengers, there was about 3 or 4 different groups.
Yeah, and the next Avengers movie or the next 2 is 2025 and 2026.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you're going to have to switch things up. You're going to have to replace people. You're going to have to.
Yeah, which is what they're doing now. So I could see, like, if Black Adam isn't going as planned and, say, Marvel says, hey, we'll throw more money at you, I actually probably would see him better in Marvel than DC. Because DC, if it was a TV show, we've had this argument before. DC's TV shows are better. Marvel's, when it comes... And that's even getting closer now. with Disney Plus. Now it's like
readily
Marvel
available.
has the
Now, if they would
movies.
just like Sony sell them Spider-Man. No, I can't say it that way. If
Yeah.
only-
Well, and the thing is, it's like Marvel has the movies. DC, to me, that was Marvel quality movie. To me, it was Wonder Woman and the Snyder Cut version of Justice League, and
Yeah.
those are the three movies that I found that were close. Other than that, Marvel just blows them out of the water when it comes to a movie. So I don't know. I would see. I think it for his future, if especially he wants to stay in the trying to do the action superhero role or the villain, his best bet if it's a movie wise, it would be in Marvel than DC.
Well, Baller is a TV show, and he did a good job in Baller.
I actually think, couldn't you count that really more as a serious role than anything else?
But it's more TV, which you can be more serious because it's shorter.
Yeah. I think Ballers were the only one that you could actually class as serious.
Well, that and he has his own TV show about himself. So
Young Rock.
All right.
Yeah, but then,
So
but then someway you might as well say that about blooming the Bella twins, but you can't exactly say they're in a serious role.
all right. Somehow we ended up getting off the subject.
It's all good.
We got back into DC and Marvel, and that was 2 months ago now. Thanks,
It's
John.
all good. It's all good. So I think the next thing, aren't we doing a revisit?
We are going to do a revisit for our next show. If y'all haven't watched it, y'all want to come on next time, go watch this movie. I believe this is basically where the world is going now today anyway.
So let's look at it from a fun standpoint that has a wrestling tie-in. And that movie is?
Idiocracy. It is one of one of my favorite movies. There are several people that have approached me about redoing this show because when we first started this, we were doing little 15-minute, segments. And now it's grown to be about an hour long, and we're getting close to going over that right now.
Yeah. And Neil, if you're available for Idiocracy, because this is a very American movie about how Americans see where the world is going to go in the future, it would be interesting to get a European point of view on this. So if you're available, by all means.
Yeah, I'll have to find it.
And whatever you do,
I haven't seen it.
Carl's Jr. box on the side of the road, okay?
They don't have Carl's Jr. over there. They have Hardee's.
Yeah, it's a joke. It's from the movie. Take your kids away.
There you go. All right, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Great discussion.
Thanks for having you guys on. All right. So, yeah, we're going to come back and revisit Idiocracy. Shout out to Bob. Thank you for bringing it back to my attention, that we were only doing the 15-minute segments back then. So, thank you. We'll see you next time.